Listen, I'm about to let y'all know 5 reasons why I moved away from Christianity and chose spirituality. Let's get it. 1. No accountability. Everything in the people's lives is either blamed on God's plan, or they'll say something like, the devil is busy. But I've never heard nobody say, this is my fault. Everything that's happening right now is a response to my actions. And a mindset like that, to me, leaves no room for growth. 2. Contradiction. God made all creations, yet half his creations are demonic. And I know y'all gonna be like, God made everything and everyone with free will, but it still does not make sense to me that a perfect God would even make evil exist. 3. Logic and science are ignored. Anything that challenges the biblical stories, no matter how much sense it makes, will automatically be rejected. That don't sit right with me. I have a brain, so if something don't sound right, I'ma question it. And if the questions ain't making sense, then I'm just not gonna believe it. To me, y'all can't just be like, it's written in this book that a man wrote, so you gotta believe it. Nah, I'm not rocking with that. 4. Religion is used as a tool to control. I noticed that. Now, the best example of that is during slavery. Now, during slavery, slaves were not allowed to read or write. It was against the law. But somehow the masters or the owners of the slaves were giving their slaves Bibles to read or trying to help them understand. It didn't make sense to me. I don't know. Seems like a form of control. 5. Cherry-pick morality. Is when you preach love, but they use the Bible to hate. And what I mean by that is they'll preach love using the Bible until they find out you don't believe that type of stuff. And now they it seems like they trying to use hate or fear to change your mind. They don't like you because you don't believe in the Bible. Or my favorite one, they gonna tell you hell is a long time in hell. Hell is for eternity. I don't know. Them my 5 reasons why I moved away from Christianity. Y'all let me know what y'all thinking.
I want to give all the praises and the honor to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem Racha HaKodash, and double honors to the elder apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone. Honors as well to the other elders and brethren, your fellow believers of this truth, supporters of this truth. Shalom to you, few sisters. Shalom to the elect. So, anyway, this is another episode. I'm going in on a lot of Christians that are male Christians that are leaving the Christian church. And I want to go over a few things that he said. And number 1, if I'm not mistaken, he was saying that no accountability, right? And what he's meaning by this is when these things happen to you, right? The Christian church have a warped understanding of the Bible, number 1. So he says, they say, well, it's Jesus' plan, God's plan, Satan at work, right? And us as Hebrew Israelites, let me say GMS, I can only speak for really, Great Millstone, right? We understand that Satan is righteous by the Lord. If you read the book of Job, the 3rd chapter, Job, the 1st chapter, right? Various other scriptures where the Satan is all in the authority of the Lord. Now, if you also read the Bible and you go into the history, which most Christians don't like to do, you'll see the wrath of the Lord, right? You'll see the wrath of the Lord and how serious the Lord is. Now, going back to the accountability, we'll get into that, the wrath of the Lord. But going back to the accountability, one of the main reasons for the lack thereof accountability, let's go to Romans 3. It says, therefore, by the deeds of the law, right, there shall no flesh be justified in his sight, for by the law is the knowledge of sin. So a Christian will read that, and I can go to the book of Deuteronomy or Ezekiel, but Christians will read that and they'll say, see, the law is done away with. They have no understanding of what that's talking about. All he's saying here, just because you follow the law, there shall no flesh be justified, but through the Messiah and the belief in the Messiah. That's how you're justified. But the Messiah wasn't about breaking laws. In fact, this society have laws. This society even gives you some time of grace sometime, or mercy. You know, you ever get pulled over by a cop and he gives you that warning? Guess what? That's mercy. That don't mean keep riding down the street in the 70 miles an hour in a 25 mile an hour zone. So when we see this, what happened was the Israelites constantly or consistently committed sins and then making sacrifices, right? And the Lord said, the hell with that. I'm going to send my son and he's going to be the ultimate sacrifice. Now you don't have to do that. So yes, he was the sacrificial lamb, so there's no reason for us to sacrifice. But the laws and the commandments still exist. But this is why Christianity is so screwed. Going back to what he was talking about in the time of slavery, the Bible crusaders or the Bible Crusader Destruction Group, right, after Martin Luther and Erasmus and various other situations with the Bible, with the Apocrypha, it was put back in the 1611, had the Apocrypha. But when the 1800s came, you know what they did, right? They gave us the slave Bible. And then when they reprinted it, you know what they also did? They hooked in a little universalism, right? That's what Isaiah 49:6. I mean, but we understand the proper text, but they retaught it to us in a universal type way, like they were a Gentile, right? That's another video. But this is why, right, this man feels no ease, because he sees Christianity just makes excuses to keep sinning. And then they'll say, well, it's Satan at work. Just making excuses and blaming God and blaming Satan. Well, the Most High is in control of that. Let's go to Isaiah 45. Where we at? Let's go to 11. 1 Corinthians 11:28. But let a man examine himself, and so let him eat of that bread and drink of that cup. Right? Let's go right here. Gotta look up a word. Examine. But let a man examine, 1381, to test or buy, approve, analyze, approve, right? Does any commentary on this? It's not much. It's just the word examine. Let a man examine himself. Let's go back, and sometime when they don't have it, we can go in the Blue Letter. Sometime I'll go in the online etymology. It says to put someone to question, to regard to knowledge, competence, or skill, inquire into qualifications or capability. And this is where prayer comes into play. This is where the fear of the Lord comes into play. Let's go to the book of Psalms. Let's go to the book of Psalms, right? 47:2. It says, for the Lord Most High is terrible. He is a great king over all the earth. Now, this word terrible means feared. In fact, some of the translations will say that. For the Lord Most High is feared, to be feared. And see, this is where the problem comes in, because they gave us white Jesus, this hippie-looking character, right, who is a freak, who slept with his own sister, and various other sicknesses and orgies and things that he was doing. Had his lover and so forth and so on. So the root of it is corrupt. But then the Christians will say, I don't care what color he is what the blood has done. Yeah. Okay, their favorite singer cares about what that singer looks like. Even AI tells you, I'm not going to go into that, but even AI tells you how detrimental or how important it is for identity and understanding what is. You can't teach a group of Chinese people, right, a way of their culture and a way of their life, right, with a black Hamite African. How do you do that? But only our people have the problem. Only our people don't even care. They don't even care what the Most High or his son looks like. But it's mentioned in the scriptures. This is sad. But only black Christians push this. White Christians really don't. We see this a lot in black Christians. That's why they're the worst. Black Christians are the worst. Now, again, with Christianity, and they gave us the slave Bible, he's correct. They gave us a new Christianity. This was not the Christianity that we knew in ancient times, right? And then they said all can be saved, all mankind. And then the people that helped promote this doctrine separated themselves and said, well, they're the Jews of the people of the land. So they separated themselves and said, well, you're Christians, when the Jews were Christians. Let's get that real quick. You see how they made the separation and say, see, you guys are Christians. We're Jews. How the heck is that? The Jews, the Christians were converted Jews. That's why I said Jew first and then Gentile. Let's go to Acts 11 real quick. I almost have to pull this in every video. Acts 11. And let's see where it goes. It looks like 11:26. I'm going to just get to the point to pretty much show you the first Christians, right? It says, and when he had found him, this is going back to Stephen and Stephen traveled to Phoenice and Cyprus and Antioch, okay? And it goes on to say, and they were coming to Antioch and spake unto the Grecians. When you look this word up, Grecians, it means Hellenist Jews. These are Jews as well, right? They're Greek-speaking Jews, okay? So then go to the 26th verse. It says, and when he had found him, he brought him to Antioch, okay? Talking about, I believe it goes into Saul, Barnabas. And it says, and it came to pass that in a whole year they assembled themselves with the church and taught much people, right? And the disciples were called Christians first in Antioch. So that's how you get the Jew. If not all Jews are not going to believe in the Messiah, right? Not all Jews are going to be non-believers or straight believers. This is how it worked. So how do people set themselves up and then all of them just don't believe in the Messiah? That's crazy work. Because you're going to, if that was the case, some of them would still believe in the Messiah. I'm talking about those particular ones, right? And why do they all look alike? Because the scripture says the Jews will be scattered from one end of the earth to the other. Not just from one part of the earth, which means here, in which we know the Jews as one of the tribes with those on those slave ships coming over here from Spain, Portugal, Africa, and various places. So anyway, it's what it is. Let's go to Isaiah 45:7. It says, I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord, do all these things. So the concept of Christianity taught a bogus, botched doctrine, right? They never taught us the truth. They never taught us the real deal. They never taught us how the Lord really was. They only taught us that the Lord was fierce and harsh in the Old Testament, but when Christ came, he eased up, which in a sense, but he's never the same anymore. As Malachi 3:6 says, he has changed. The Lord doesn't change. But the reason why the mercy comes is because through the Son. Because without the Messiah, the one you call Jesus, right, we will never be forgiven for the sins that we created in this life and the past life. But if you keep going in the Bible, such as Revelation 13 and Revelation 18 and various parts of the Bible, we see that the Lord still didn't change because he will bring judgment. And these Christians will tell you, oh, it doesn't matter. All you got to do is believe. Don't worry. You're going to be beamed up with white Jesus with a bed sheet. I guarantee you, if some of these black Christians got beamed up and saw so-called black Jesus, they'd have a fit. If they saw Yahweh Shah how he really looked, they'll have a fit. And I'll say this again. If the white man could be saved and it was all good, the black Christians wouldn't have a problem. Even if Hamites couldn't be saved. If Arabs couldn't be saved, there wouldn't be no issue. They only have a problem because Esau can't be saved. I'm just saying. So another thing he brought up, I'm just trying to go through down the line, is hell. So we go here to the book of Psalms 9 and 17, because nobody teaches these people. Vocab Malone and God Logic and all them, they never knew any of this stuff. They got on their game because of what we do, right? Now everybody's a scholar. The wicked shall be turned into hell, and all the nations that forgot God, right? Now, the other nations never knew God. These are the lineages of Jacob, right? The wicked shall be turned into hell. So let's look at hell. Sha'al, I know what this means. Sha'al, underworld, grave, hell, pit. That's all it is. We're going to find that. We're going to go all these translations, place of no return. When you die, guess where you go? Everybody goes to hell. Everybody, because it's the grave. It's the underworld, right? A place of exile, right? That's what it also can be. This is why it has so many different definitions. We're going to give you a sample of that as well. Matthew 10 and 28. And fear not them which can kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul, but rather fear him which is able to destroy both soul and body in hell. So we go down here, which these people never look up anything. We're going to show you another example of hell in the New Testament, right? We see this word Gehenna. I already know what this means, but I'll just read it. Hell is the place of future punishment called Gehenna, Gehenna of fire. This was originally the Valley of Hinnom. Wait a minute, I thought it was some underground pit of fire. Southern Jerusalem, right? America will be hell, right? When the missiles hit this place and it gets totally destroyed, it'll be a pit of fire, right? That's what he's going into. You'll be destroyed in hell. South of Jerusalem, where the filth and dead animals of the city were cast out and burned, and it fit a symbol of the wicked and their future destruction, right? So this is all together. Now, this also, when I read up on this, it was also, Gehenna was a great place, but the children of Israel start casting their children through the fire. And that's how it became the Gehenna of hell, the Gehenna of fire, right? Hebrew origin, Valley of the Son of Hinnom, Valley of Jerusalem, right? And name a place, an everlasting punishment, hell. Now, everlasting don't always mean, when you say forever and then ever and ever. It's just, when you look at it up, it's talking about a period of time, right? Any more in here? Gehenna, name everlasting punishment. Let me look this up real quick. I could get it in a blue letter. I looked up here in the Bible. This is AI. It says forever can refer to seemingly endless or a very long period of time, especially in formal context. But it can also mean a definite through potentiality, potentially long duration, or even generally infinite, endless time. It depends on the context. So right here, we want to go back to, here it goes here to everlasting punishment. And this is where they went on and they linked this Roman Catholicism, Roman Catholic doctrine, that you're going to burn in hell, right? And it doesn't make sense, because every time I went to a funeral when I was younger, and it was some wicked Jake laying in a casket, that mamas always said they're going to be with the Lord. The Christians just make straight judgment, right? According to their doctrine. Could that be true? Or maybe not. I'm just saying. Anyway, Luke 16 and 23, and if hell be lifted up in his eyes, being in torments, and seeth Abraham afar off, right? And Lazarus in his bosom. That parable, right? Going into Edom and the heathens and the elect. So right here, the word hell means Hades. So wait a minute. We got like 4 or 5 different definitions of hell. If it was just hellfire, it should have just been that simple. And the reason why they call it hellfire, because if you have a bunch of sick animals, say pigs, right, and you got to kill them, they'll dig a pit and throw them in the pit, and they'll set them on fire, and that's what you call hellfire. Just like a cremation, right? Just like a cremation, and you put in the pit or whatever, and you set on fire. That's just a hellfire. All go to be with the Lord, man. And then the judgment, right? Then you come back. Hades, and you know, in 2 Corinthians it says they all sit in the judgment seat. Yahweh in the judgment seat, and they'll judge you according to what you done in your body, whether good or bad, right? The name Hades, Pluto, the god of the lower regions, Orcus, netherworld, the realm of the dead, right? Later use of this word, the grave, death, hell, right? So there you have it. This man didn't have any understanding of the Bible, and because we're not taught the correct way, this is exactly what happens. That's all I have on that. Shalom.